Right. So you want to really get a handle on where DeFi is going, you know, like get a good grasp on the future of it, but you don't want to get lost in all the tiny detail.
It's very
And you
right.
want to be efficient with your time. Well,
Exactly.
look no further.
Yeah.
We've got some really interesting analysis here that's going to give us a glimpse into what DeFi could look like by 2025.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to cut through all that noise and really zone in on what are the key shifts we expect to see. It's not just about the technology itself evolving, but it's about how DeFi could fit into the broader financial world, and importantly, how that could affect your financial decisions, the listener.
Absolutely. And before we jump in, for anyone who's new to all this or maybe just needs a quick refresh, what
Sure.
exactly are we talking about when we say DeFi, decentralized finance?
To get
So in the simplest terms, it's basically a financial system that runs without like the traditional gatekeepers, the
right.
banks. And it all runs on blockchain technology and
Yeah.
these things called smart contracts, which is essentially let you lend money, borrow money, trade, even earn interest,
Mhm.
all without needing permission from some kind of central authority.
That's a great way to put it. And to really get a sense of where things are headed, it's helpful to kind of look back a little
Okay.
bit. We saw that the incredible surge of interest and activity in DeFi back in 2021, like a huge amount of value was just pouring into B systems.
Right.
Then the market, well, it kind of went through some pretty big corrections and regulators started to take notice, 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
So our look towards 2025, it's shaped by this period of rapid growth and then that sort of stabilization that followed.
Gotcha. So let's unpack what the future might hold. Our goal here is to, I guess, pinpoint those critical trends that'll most likely shape DeFi over the next couple of years.
Right.
And, the big question that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering is DeFi on a collision course with traditional finance? Or are we going to see these two worlds, find a way to work together?
Exactly. And the sources that we've looked at, they point to several key developments. And the first one that keeps popping up is the expectation of increased government regulation that's going to impact DeFi platforms.
Regulation, yeah. That word that seems to always follow any conversation about crypto.
Right.
What are the experts sort of anticipating in this area?
Well, the general consensus is that we're going to see, more formal rules being put in place for DeFi platforms across the board.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's important to think about how this could all play out.
Okay.
On the one hand, more stringent control could actually be seen as a drawback.
Sure.
Potentially stifling that innovative and decentralized spirit that DeFi is known for.
Right. The worry being that too much red tape could choke off the creativity and we just end up with the old system with a blockchain makeover.
Exactly.
Okay.
But and this is where it could get really interesting for you, the listener. Regulation could actually bring a big boost in security and trust to the DeFi space.
Okay.
If you have clear frameworks, consumer protections, in place, it could make DeFi much more appealing, more accessible to a much wider audience.
Right.
Think about the early internet. It was chaotic, but then clearer rules helped it become mainstream.
Right. Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Yeah,
Having clear rules, I think it would definitely lower the barrier to entry for a lot of people who are hesitant right now.
absolutely.
Okay, so beyond regulation then, what other big shifts are we keeping our eye on?
Another really big trend is this push to bring real world assets into DeFi.
Okay.
And we're talking about tokenizing and trading things like stocks, real estate, commodities, assets that haven't really been a part of the crypto world.
Tokenized real estate, I mean, that's still a bit of a mind bender.
It is.
How does that even work? And why should our listener, why should they care about this?
Yeah, well, what's so potentially transformative here is the access and liquidity it could unlock.
Okay.
Imagine, owning a fraction of a commercial building or a piece of art.
Right.
Something that was previously only available to the super rich or institutions, right?
Right, yeah.
By tokenizing these assets, DeFi platforms could lower the bar to entry,
Mhm.
and make these sorts of investments available to way more people.
So it's democratizing access to these different types of investment.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got regulation, potentially bringing in more security, more trust,
Right.
real world assets, opening up new investment possibilities.
hmm
What else is on the horizon?
Another really powerful trend is the growing use of AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Think that means DeFi protocol.
AI and DeFi.
Yeah.
That sounds like a big jump. Like, how's AI being used in this space?
Well, think about some of the big challenges in finance, right? Accurately assessing risk, identifying fraud, optimizing investment strategy.
Mm,
AI algorithms are proving to be really good at automating and improving these processes in DeFi.
eh,
For you, this could mean more robust, secure
okay.
platforms, potentially AI driven tools to help optimize your own investments, maybe for better yields.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having, a really sophisticated risk manager and an investment advisor all rolled into one.
Okay. So AI is adding a layer of intelligence to
Zup.
make DeFi more efficient,
Right.
potentially safer. Interesting. Now, we've been hearing a lot about these traditional financial institutions
Yeah.
starting to dip their toes into the DeFi waters.
Hmm.
Is that another trend?
Absolutely. The increasing involvement of these institutional investors, the big
Yeah.
bang, the hedge funds, the asset management companies, this is a huge development.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more of these established players starting to explore and actually engage with this whole DeFi ecosystem.
And what does that mean for, someone like you listening who is maybe thinking about getting into DeFi,
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the influx of all this institutional money, it's going to lead to greater liquidity in DeFi markets.
right?
It also brings a level of legitimacy and maturity to the
Okay.
space, potentially making it more stable and reliable for everyone involved,
Right.
including individual users like
Yeah.
yourself. It could also spur further innovation as these institutions bring their expertise and their resources.
So it could lead to a more stable and potentially less volatile environment. Exactly. As these bigger players come in. Okay. So we've got regulation. We've
Yeah,
got the move towards real world asset,
that's right.
AI integration, institutional interest.
Hmm.
What's the last key trend we need to be aware of?
The last crucial piece is the ongoing development in layer 2 scaling
Okay.
solutions, particularly for the Ethereum blockchain, which is, a foundational piece for a lot of DeFi.
Layer two, that sounds a bit technical. Can you
Yeah.
break that down for us?
Okay, so think of the main Ethereum network as like a really busy highway. During rush hour, it gets
Right.
congested, leading to slow transaction speeds and high
Those,
fees.
those gas fees, right?
Plus dreaded gas fees,
Yeah.
exactly. Layer 2 networks, these are things like Arbitrum, Optimism, Zscaler Sync. They're like building express lanes alongside that main
Yeah.
highway. They handle a bunch of transactions off the main chain,
Right.
process them faster,
Yeah.
cheaper. Then they basically settle the results back on that main Ethereum chain.
Gotcha. So it's like diverting some of the traffic to make the whole system run smoother
Exactly.
and cheaper. How does that directly impact me, the listener?
By making transactions way faster and cheaper,
Mhm.
layer 2 solutions make DeFi more accessible for everyday
Oh,
use. Because you won't have to worry about those high gas fees eating into your
right.
return or making smaller transactions just not worth it.
Okay. So those are some really significant changes that we're expecting to see. Now, for the big question,
Yeah.
is DeFi headed for a showdown with traditional finance?
So
Or are these two going to find some way to coexist, collaborate, work together?
this is such a fascinating question. And there are different schools of thought on
Sure.
this. One perspective is that, DeFi's inherent advantages like transparency, efficiency, accessibility,
Mhm.
these could position it as a real competitor to those traditional banking models.
Okay.
So in this scenario, banks, they might feel the pressure to innovate
Yeah.
and launch their own digital
Hmm.
offering just to stay
So
competitive.
they might try to create their own versions of these decentralized services to keep up.
Right, right. But there's also a strong argument to be made for a future where we see more collaboration, like more integration
Okay.
between traditional finance and these DeFi protocols rather than outright competition.
That sounds more like the working together scenario we talked about earlier.
Right.
Are there any real world examples that suggest this is already happening?
Yeah, and it's quite
Oh,
telling. We're seeing established financial institutions exploring this blockchain technology that powers DeFi.
mhm.
For example, JP Morgan, they've been using blockchain for cross-border payments.
Okay.
And big payment networks like Visa and MasterCard are also starting to integrate crypto payments into their systems.
That's huge where you see these giants like Visa, MasterCard moving in this direction.
Yeah,
It seems like you're taking it seriously, recognizing the potential.
absolutely. And it's not just private
Okay.
company. If some governments are also adopting more DeFi-friendly positions,
Okay.
El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender.
Right.
The initiatives we're seeing in the UAE around digital assets,
Mhm.
these are all examples of how regulatory bodies might embrace certain aspects of DeFi.
So it sounds like a complete takeover of traditional finance by DeFi.
is probably less likely than a future where they find ways to, I guess, work together and complement each other, like a hybrid system. What would that look like for, the average person out there trying to navigate this?
A hybrid system could give you a wider range of financial tools and services.
Hmm.
You might see banks offering access to some DeFi products.
Okay.
Or DeFi platforms, adhering to certain regulatory standards to offer better security and wider acceptance.
Right.
It could mean more choices.
Yeah.
Potentially more efficient, more cost-effective ways to manage your money.
Okay, so with all these potential changes on the way, what are some things you, our listener, can do to prepare for this brave new world of DeFi?
There are a few key things to keep in mind.
Okay.
Firstly, and this is crucial, stay informed about regulations.
Yep.
As the rules around DeFi change, knowing which platforms are compliant, which ones are considered safe,
Yeah.
that's going to be super important for protecting your investments and your interests.
So keeping an eye on the legal and regulatory stuff is a top priority.
Absolutely.
What else should we be doing?
Secondly, if you're thinking about investing in DeFi, focus on well-established projects that offer real utility.
Okay.
Not just chasing the latest hype.
Right.
Protocols like Above, AAVE, it facilitates lending and borrowing. Uniswap, UNI, a leading decentralized exchange.
Right.
And MakerDAO, MKR, which issues the DAI stablecoin. These are examples of projects with solid foundations.
Okay.
And that's where you want to start your research.
So do your research, look for projects with substance,
Right.
a clear purpose.
Exactly.
Don't get caught up in all the hype.
Right.
That's always good advice, solid investment advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the third thing?
Diversification, a fundamental principle in any investment strategy. And it applies to DeFi too.
Okay.
Spreading your holdings across multiple reputable DeFi platforms can help reduce your risk.
Yeah.
And protect your money against any vulnerabilities in a single protocol.
Makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, even if it's a decentralized one.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's look at the big picture again.
Yeah.
Based on all these trends, what does the potential DeFi landscape look like in 2025?
Well, the analysis suggests a few key things.
Oh, yeah.
We could see a significant increase in the total market cap of DeFi, potentially reaching trillions of dollars.
Wow.
As adoption grows, AI integration could lead to more automated, faster, potentially more secure platforms.
Right.
The influx of institutional capital could lead to more stability
Okay.
and a more mature market. And as we discussed the rise of a hybrid financial system where DeFi and traditional banking coexist, that seems more and more likely.
That paints a pretty optimistic picture. But are there any potential challenges, any risks that we need to be aware of?
Absolutely. While the future of DeFi is exciting, there are inherent risks. We can't ignore that. Cybersecurity threats like hacks and scams, those are still concerns.
Yeah.
Unforeseen regulatory changes could also impact DeFi's growth trajectory. This really highlights the need to stay vigilant, do your own research, be cautious when engaging with these DeFi platforms.
So while the potential rewards are big, it's not without its potential pitfalls.
Exactly.
It sounds like getting a grasp on DeFi now,
Yeah.
that really puts you in a better position, as things develop, because they're moving fast.
Yeah, and by understanding these trends, these potential risks, you're better equipped to handle the future of finance.
Right.
No matter what direction it takes.
Exactly. So considering all the potential for growth, the increasing regulation,
Right.
the potential for collaboration,
Yeah.
and the risks that are still there. Here's something to think about. What aspect of DeFi's evolution do you find the most interesting or maybe the most concerning for the future of our financial system? It's definitely something to ponder as you continue to explore this world. Thanks for joining us today for this deep dive.